1, 2. I call this meeting to order. Let's do roll call.
Aldana?
Present.
Ulrich? White?
Present.
And Harley here.
Oh. Chuck?
Present.
Lee?
Here.
Quadri? Body?
Here.
Alex?
Here.
Form at 7.
Moving on to the Honolulu Fire Department.
Hi, good evening. My name is Keith Endo. I'm captain at the McCully Fire Station, Station 29. This is the October incidents that we had. We had 1 structure fire in our area, 3 nuisance fires, 1 cooking fire, and 5 activated alarms with no fire. We had 86 medicals that we responded to, 10 motor vehicle crash or collisions, 1 ocean rescue, and 1 hazardous material incident that occurred in our area. This month's fire safety tip is kitchen and cooking safety. So cooking is the leading cause of home fires. Protect yourself, your family, and your neighborhood by practicing these prevention tips, such as stay in the kitchen while you are cooking. Do not leave cooking unattended. If you must leave the kitchen, turn off the stove. Keep items such as oven mitts, wooden utensils, towels, etc. Away from the stovetop, even when the stove is off. So never store items on top of the stove or cooktop or even inside the oven. Keep a lid nearby to smother small grease fires. Smother the fire by sliding a lid over the pan and turning the stove off. Only plug 1 heat-producing appliance such as a coffee maker, toaster into an outlet at a time. And lastly, create a 3-foot child and pet-free zone around your cooking area. That's these fire safety tips for this month. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I think they advertise like a cover that goes over fire.
Uncle Paul.
No? Oh, sorry. Is that recommended?
We have never, we haven't been issued that. We haven't had any training, so I'm not too sure as far as recommending it, but yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
I just saw it on television and went, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to District 1.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Lieutenant Arnold Solis representing the District 1 Community Area Responsibility. With your guys' agenda being so full, I'm going to head right into the statistics for the past month of October. So motor vehicle thefts were 0. Previous to that was 2. Burglaries were 0. Previous month was 4. Thefts were 9. Previous to that was 3. UMVs or car break-ins were 3. Previous month was 5. Assaults were 5 for both months. There were no sex assaults or graffiti cases related or reported. Drug-related offenses were 1. Previous month was 1. So for your particular area of District 1, the total calls for service for your area was 406 compared to the previous month of 408. I checked any notable cases that occurred on the District 1 side of our responsibility, and there were none. I just wanted to let you folks know about 2 upcoming events that might affect traffic in your area. The first one is the Millwood events that will be happening in Waikiki on the 9th, so this Saturday. It will affect traffic in the immediate area and especially at the thoroughfares leading into Waikiki. So Kalakaua, McCully, and Kapahulu. It's going to be just for the street vendors and food trucks in regards to that event. Another event that we're going to kind of relate to everyone is Black Friday, which will be happening on November 29th. That's going to increase and expect heavy traffic in the mall areas. Yeah, so plan accordingly. A safety tip for the month of November for District 1. We're going to be talking about driving safely during heavy rain events, especially in November, because it's going to be a very wet winter season. More specifically, we're going to be speaking about hydroplaning. Lots of the incidents, especially happen on our H1 freeway. We've been getting sent to a lot of these calls. We're with the ongoing paving of the freeway, the actual crown of the roadway may not be present in certain areas. We're asking our community members to just slow down during heavy rain events, avoid ponding water, and reduce speeds to allow time for your tires to have contact with the road. Just to let you guys know, it only takes about an inch of water and speed to lift a vehicle off the road, causing spinouts and stuff. So I'm going to yield back the rest of my time so I can take any questions from the board members and public attendees.
Try. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, do I want?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I just have a question. I know that we have a lot of activities coming up in the end of but by the month of November, and I want to know if you guys have a security plan in place, especially in District 1, because I've seen a lot in the neighbors that we've been living nowadays. You know, we see a lot of people stealing bicycles and also stealing stuff from houses. So therefore, I would like to know if you guys have a security plan in place, especially now that things are increasing not in a good way. Thanks.
Most definitely. So all District 1 events, there's usually have special duty plan for those events, depending if they're co-sponsored by the city or if not, then the events leadership would then go and hire special duty. But with that regard, we always keep track of all of our particular events that occur in our area. We plan accordingly. We do reallocate personnel on those particular days. We do have a bike detail and an ATV detail that does adjust their shifts to accommodate those events. But if there's anything in particular with regards to like with Black Friday, we're going to be increasing personnel on those particular days. Yeah, so we are making adjustments.
Any questions from the public? Thank you. Moving on to District 7.
Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Thompson, District 7. The stats for October, there were 26 motor vehicle thefts. Previously were 16, 11 burglaries. Previous to that was 10. 16 thefts. Previous to that was 13. 11 unauthorized entry to motor vehicle reports. Previous to that was 18. And total calls for the service for the month of October was 6,075. And I was going to share driving in the rain safety tips, and if I could piggyback with Lieutenant Segucio's safety tip of the month, to brake earlier than you normally would, so that would decrease your chances for hydroplaning, allows your car more time to slow down with less force, and more importantly is stay on top of your car's condition. Check your brakes, your tires, make sure your tires have good pressure, good tread depth, and make sure your windshield wipers are in good working order. And I'm free to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to Board of Water Supply.
All right. Good evening. I'm Stephen from the board, Nordstrom from the Board of Water Supply. Good evening, Vice Chair, members. For the month of October, there were no main breaks in the McCully Neighborhood Board District. And our announcement is we are looking for folks to shape the future and become part of the Board of Water Supply, a very well-run city organization that protects our precious water resources, promotes your growth as an employee, and supports your work-life balance. So if you are interested, we are looking to fill permanent full-time positions in engineering, information technology, customer care, as well as administrative support. So if you are interested, you can go to our website, more information there at boardofwatersupply.com/jobs. And I would like to introduce Board of Water Supply's Public Information Officer, Kathleen Pahanui, who has an update for you regarding some construction work.
Thank you, Steve. And I apologize, my back is to everybody. I feel very uncomfortable being, feels rude. So I was here in September to talk about a project across the McCully Bridge. We were going to replace the brackets on our main because they're getting old. After that meeting, our team met with the Department of Design and Construction, and they were not comfortable with the design that we had put forth. And so they've asked us to look at an alternative design, and we're working on it as we speak. And when we have something ready, we'd be happy to come back to this board and give a quick update to you. So that's all. I had promised I would come and keep you guys informed, so I wanted to follow through. Apologize I didn't come to your October meeting. I was under the weather, but thank you very much. Any questions?
When will it be the next update?
I don't know. I was trying to get a hold of our young engineer today and we kept missing each other, but probably not till sometime first of the year, sometime in January, February. Takes time for these things to get done. And I've asked to make sure that this time the design is, everybody's in favor of it before we come back. So we don't have to come back and say sorry again.
Any questions from the public?
Wait, do I just unmute myself if I want to talk, or how do I get called on?
Sorry.
No, it's
Go
okay.
ahead.
I just want to know. Should I just go ahead? Thank you so much for the update. I really appreciate you coming to circle back with us about that. I'm just curious if there's going to be any type of like expedited timeline, given what I remember is our collective urgency around this.
I don't have anything as of yet. They'll have to go back, make the changes, and then hopefully I'll be able to get something that I can share with you. But nothing yet,
The other
sorry.
question okay. I just had a more general question too. I know that we had water hikes this year, or water price hikes, and I know those are going to continue for the next couple of years. Could we get an update in the beginning of 2025 about what kind of difference that has made for you guys financially, how that's going and so forth? I'm just curious if people have maybe changed how they use water as a result of those hikes, or you guys have been able to balance your budget better, and how that's gone.
No, so far we're doing well on the budget. We actually give quarterly updates to our board. In fact, our next update will be at our November meeting. So what I can do is I can send your vice chair a link to that presentation, and then you guys can take a look at it. But yes, we're happy to come back at the pleasure of this board whenever it's convenient.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative.
Aloha board.
Aloha.
Mike O'Keefe. I'm the Deputy Director with the city's Department of Environmental Services, also the mayor's representative for this neighborhood board. Oh, it's okay. Oh, can I? Yeah, we can. Or take it out. Yeah, I could just take it out actually. Thank you. Better. Thank you. Mike O'Keefe, Deputy Director with the city's Department of Environmental Services and Mayor's Rep for this neighborhood board. My announcements and updates are very short this month. So I'll just, first off, I'll draw your attention to the Mayor's November newsletter that was recently released. It can be viewed at honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. Some of the stories recapping Pride Month, details on updated flood maps from FEMA, and also another topic that I'll present on a little bit later tonight is the city's proposal to raise sewer fees, among other topics in this month's newsletter. The only thing that was brought up from last month was a request for the city's Department of Transportation Services to present status on the Alawai Bridge project. And that's going to happen tonight, right after my presentation, actually. DTS Director Roger Morton is here and his consultant, and they're going to be doing a presentation on that shortly. So that's the response to that item, and I'll just defer to that presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
Thank you, Michael. What I would just like to know is that the mayor will actually watch, I'm sorry, Laura Ribby, Alawai Mauka Community Association. Yes, I would just like the mayor to be sure that he gets to see all of our presentations tonight that have to do with the proposal over the Alawai Canal and anything else that's related to the community. I think he has his best heart and that we'd like to have them go forward with our community concerns. Thank you.
Any questions?
My name is Dave Barber. I have a question. I've talked to you previously quite a bit about the bumps on Kapiolani, and they fixed that now. But there's still one that remains on University Avenue. Do they have plans to do anything to University Avenue?
As far as installing bumps or fixing bumps?
No, there's one, the tree root goes from the median, goes out into the street. It causes a pretty severe bump. And it's about halfway on, if you're driving Mackay, it's about halfway between Date and King Street. It's very, very, if they pave, it needs, at least the bump needs to be taken care of. It's in the lane going Mackay, and it's about halfway between Date and of course it's in the center lane next to the median. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
All right. So there is a building that they're constructing between
You have somebody
Algaroa.
online that has her hand raised.
We'll get to them next.
So there is a building, they're building between Algaroa, in the corner of Algaroa and Hawole Street. And I noticed that, and I understand that what they're doing is for people that don't have a high income. But I also noticed that they're not constructing a parking space. So based on the amount of apartment that they're gonna build, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if somebody have thought about that, to maybe have a way to park, because I know that to find parking around the area is very difficult. So something maybe that someone can take consideration into that.
I'll follow up on that. Thanks.
And we had a question online.
Hi, this is Daisy, the Deputy Director. When are the new garbage trucks coming in? And also, what is the process for bulk rubbish pickup? And how do you determine a violation? Say it's in a apartment complex. How do you know it's a particular resident, or if it could be any one of people in that section? So how are these determined? Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. So I can actually, I'll take that question and respond to it right now, since that would just come to my department anyway. First question was about the refuse trucks, one of the new ones coming in. They're starting to come in more frequently now. There was information, some news articles, and my department put out a press release that since 2022, we had ordered, I think the number was 77 trucks. And due to a number of issues, factors, including large part, just kind of like a slowdown related to COVID that the truck manufacturing industry had a lot of trouble recovering from. We did not get any of those 77 trucks that were again ordered in 2022 until earlier this year. But they're starting to come in now. I think to date, we've got about 14 of the 77 trucks in, with a couple more coming even later this year in December, and then more scheduled to come early next year and then throughout the year. And that's going to help the city get back on time with, reliable everyday refuse collection. Please remind me the second question, Daisy.
Okay, thank you. That would be much appreciated because we noticed that sometimes some of the garbage trucks, they can't go into gear. So that's good relief. Second question is, what is the process in for bulk pickup? The rubbish, where now we have to call and we have to specify what rubbish we are taking out, and the city, your department will determine what day to be picked up. What happens when you have an apartment or condo complex when there's several people involved? And how do they determine that that person, whoever has the rubbish out on the curbside, is in violation, like bringing it out too early before the pickup? Do the people have some kind of up-to-date listing of who is calling for pickup and what day before any violation is done? Because a friend of mine had a violation letter, and guess what? It wasn't even her apartment, and she didn't call for bulk mail, bulk pickup. So there seems to be some discrepancy as to how that particular violation letter got sent. They sent to the wrong person, because the address that was shown on the letter is completely a different building complex. So we need to have that clarified. Appreciate how they go about. We know we have people going around and looking for violations, but we need to know how do they determine that this is a violation and not something that happened. Because sometimes people would say, "Oh, let's put some more things on this particular rubbish pile." So, I mean, what are your criteria? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So a lot of questions in there. I'll try to nail them all, but let me know if I missed something. So the first thing I'll say is that not every multifamily dwelling gets city bulky item refuse collection. Some do, some don't. It was an issue that was decided, when that building was built, and it has to do with standards, whether or not city trucks can access the facility and so on and so forth. But I won't get into that detail, but suffice it to say that some buildings get city bulky collection, some don't. For the buildings that do get city bulky collection, the best way to make a collection appointment is actually not to call. It's to go online to our website, honolulu.gov/ENV, and make an appointment on our website. When you make an appointment, you can designate a day, you can designate items, and then you submit it. You get a confirmation email, and then you're all set. You put the trash out, put the bulky items out the night before. They come through the next morning and pick it up. As far as enforcing or policing people who put out bulky items either off schedule or they just don't have city service and they just put it out. So if you don't have city service, that building would need to work with their private refuse hauler, whether it's West Oahu Aggregate, Honolulu Disposal Services, those are the two biggest on island, to figure out when that refuse collector can pick up their bulky items. If people are putting stuff out at the curb, and it's outside of the collection window. It's what the city would consider illegal dumping. I mean, the technical term is untimely set out, but it's basically the material is illegally dumped at the curb. The way the ordinance works now is that the property owner is responsible for the property fronting the curb. And that includes if somebody from outside of the community comes and dumps material in front of the property. Really, the property owner is responsible for maintaining the curb and ultimately for cleaning that material up. We get that doesn't sound completely fair. So when it comes to enforcing illegal dumping, we generally never enforce on a situation like that. We just work with the property owner to right the situation. We have a team of inspectors that will help try to determine where that material is coming from and track down the source of the material so we can actually enforce on that person. They're remarkably effective at how they do that. They'll go through the trash to look for junk mail, find addresses, and then reach out and contact that person. But for people who do get city service, you've got to make the appointment, set it out at the designated time. If you don't, and you're fully well aware that you're not putting it out at the right time and you refuse to take it back in, that's kind of a situation where we would enforce, issue a violation, and then if there's ongoing violations, we'd ultimately issue a fine. I hope that answers all your questions.
Most of it. The last part was that the picture that was shown on the letter of violation was actually a different complex. So that doesn't make sense. So we're wondering how that was possible. That one property owners got the letter, but yet the violation was shown on another building further down on the same street. So, I mean, that needs to be checked, double checked or whatever, because it doesn't make sense. It's not fair for whoever should get the violation and who should never get the violation. So that needs to be corrected. Thank you.
Yeah, and just a quick comment on that. So I think one of two things happened there. Either it was just a flat out mistake where the inspectors sent the wrong letter to the wrong address, and that can be easily corrected. It happens, it can be easily corrected. This person would just have to call the number that's on the letter and say, hey, this is not even remotely correct. Alternatively, I'm not saying this happened, but it could be a situation where, similar to what I just described, where the person who actually got the letter, their information was found in trash that was illegally dumped at the property in the picture. Again, I'm not saying that happened, but it could be that could be what happened. I'm not sure who this person at the building, the trash collector is, if it's somebody who's not behaving responsibly and just picking it up from one account and dumping it somewhere else. That might have been what happened. Again, I'm not saying that happened. It's probably unlikely that happened, but in my mind, that outside of just a flat out error, that could have been the alternative situation there. But either way, please have that person call the number on the letter and sort it out.
Yes, that person will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
How's it? My question or comment is twofold. Is Mayor Belangiardi aware that over the last several decades, the sound level or decibel level of both EMTs, ambulances, cop cars, and sometimes fire engines? Fire engines are, but the ambulances and the police cars, the decibel level is raised exponentially over the last 30 years. Is he aware of that? And then secondly, is he aware that Young Street is being used as a thoroughfare for those ambulances, and they're speeding along a very residential area, one lane each way, in excess of 40 and 45 miles an hour?
Yeah, thank you. It's a question or a point that's been raised before, and I won't try to re-articulate the response, but I'll note it in the report and get a response for next meeting. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to Councilmember Calvin Say.
Hi, this is Chastity Santiago for Councilmember Say. I do apologize he is not present today, but I am here to take any questions, comments, or concerns from the public or board.
Any questions from the board?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Just, yeah. So I remember that it was said in the meeting that there was gonna be a walk through the district, and I haven't heard nothing yet.
So the walk actually happened for the last meeting. We did the walk, I believe it was sometime in September 25th. We had a few constituents who showed up. There was Mr. Merrill, I believe he's in the crowd. We also did have Kane who joined and a few other constituents and some board members.
Do we have a report for that, or are you guys planning to have a report from that walk?
Didn't provide a report. But if you'd like more information, I can definitely you. It was just kind of an informal walk, just more so to hear from the public concerns that we had in the community.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the public? Seeing none, let's move on to the first presentation from the city. Sewer service charge increase proposal.
Aloha again. For the record, Mike O'Keefe, Deputy Director with the city's Department of Environmental Services. So I'm here to talk briefly tonight about the city's proposal that's currently in front of City Council to raise sewer fees. So before I get into the specifics of that, I think it's really helpful to kind of talk about our department and as a lead up to why we need this additional revenue from these raised fees. So our department, my department, Environmental Services, we're a department of about 900 people. We manage all of the city's wastewater and solid waste infrastructure. So solid waste is as I was talking about, all the curbside refuse collection, the city's waste to energy facility, H-Power, the Waimanalo Gulch landfill, and we have 7 drop-off refuse and recycling convenience centers and 3 refuse transfer stations kind of located all around the island. That's just on the solid waste side. On the wastewater side, we maintain about 2,100 miles of sewer pipes. Those sewer pipes convey wastewater to pump stations. We maintain 72 pump stations around the island. Those pump stations pump the wastewater to treatment plants, to 9 treatment plants around the island. The treatment plant that services this area is the Sand Island Wastewater Treatment Plant. So all the wastewater, all the sewage that's generated here finds its way to Sand Island ultimately. Why do we need our fees to go up? First of all, we haven't raised fees since 2016. Our department kind of prides itself on being really frugal with its money. We're very conservative in our saving and our spending, but the time has really come to do this, and I'll explain why. We've just like everyone, our costs have been going up, our operation and maintenance costs. Additionally, we have an operating budget and we have a construction budget, which we call a capital improvement program or a CIP budget. Our CIP budget from 2025 through 2040 is $10.1 billion with a B, billion dollars. The biggest single project in that budget is the upgrade to our Sand Island wastewater treatment plant, again, the treatment plant that services this area. All total, it's about a $2.4 billion upgrade. The upgrade is basically, just very briefly stated, it's to upgrade the treatment technology so that we're discharging cleaner water into the ocean. Right now, it's a primary treatment facility. The facility is going to be updated to what's called secondary treatment standards. So it discharges about 60 million gallons a day of treated wastewater into the ocean, into an outfall that's about a mile off the beach. Let's see. You know, that's the main project driver, the Sand Island plant, but it's also, the money is also for to upgrade the 9 treatment plants, the sewer fees and the the sewer lines and the pump stations all around the island, to upgrade them to meet regulatory requirements, to modernize them, to improve efficiency. We have several projects in the pipeline where we're going to be building facilities that actually extract energy from the waste that we collect from everyone and use that to offset create energy, use that to offset the operating costs at our plants. So we're trying to act smartly here. Like, we're trying to make investments that are going to have direct return for our facilities. Also to prep the facilities for climate change. So how much are fees going to go up? The proposal that's currently in front of City Council right now would begin raising fees. The first fee increase would take effect July 1st, 2025. And we have introduced a package that would increase fees annually for a 10-year period from 2025 through 2035. All total, the cumulative increase over that 10-year period is 124%. So it's not small, it's pretty big. The fee increases start out like this. For the first 6 years, there are annual 9% per year increases. For years 7, 8, 9, and 10, it's 8%, 7%, 6%, 5%. So once we finish building that big project that I was talking about to upgrade the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant, which is scheduled to be, it's already begun construction. It's scheduled to be completed, or has to be completed, by 2035. Once we finish that, the rate increases go down. Basically, they never disappear, but they get to a level that basically is just to keep up with inflation. Right now, we're raising money to pay for that project. Some things that are coming along with this proposal. For those of you who get a water/sewer bill from the Board of Water Supply right now, you'll understand that the way the sewer bill works, there's 2 components to it. There's a fixed charge, what we call a base charge, and that fixed charge is the same every month, no matter how much water you use. That makes up about, on average, it makes up about 70% of the bill. So 70% of the average bill is fixed. The remaining 30% is what we call a volumetric charge, which is a charge based on how much water you use in a given month. Under the proposal that's in front of City Council right now to raise sewer fees, another thing that we're changing is to shift that fixed to volumetric ratio of 70%, 30% to 50-50. So going forward, a smaller percentage of your bill is going to be fixed, a greater percent is going to be based on water usage, giving you folks and me, the customer, a greater ability to control your bill by conserving water, reduce your bill. So another thing that we're going to be rolling out in this in our proposal to increase fees is, we haven't done this before. We're going to be offering a customer assistance program. It's going to be an income-based customer assistance program. And the high-level details right now are basically that every year we're going to dedicate $10 million to this program that's going to allow qualifying customers to reduce the base charge portion of their bill by $20 to $30, give or take. And that'll help that portion of the population. I'll also remind everybody who gets a current sewer bill currently, there, if you know that there's an automatic 20% irrigation credit that's applied to the bill. I mentioned that currently 30% of the bill is based on water usage. That 30% of the bill that's based on water usage is automatically reduced by 20% based on the assumption that 20% of the water that you use at home doesn't find its way into the sewer, that it is used for something else. We commonly refer to that as an irrigation credit because that's how some people's water doesn't go into the sewer. They use it to water their lawns. But that will remain on the bill under the proposal going forward. So that's it. I kind of just want to, and the last thing I'll say is just kind of highlight the outreach that we're doing, the education efforts that we're undertaking for this proposal. I mentioned that it's currently in front of City Council. We actually had our first reading of the bill today, and it's going to be referred to committees where it'll get further deliberation. Our department's going to make presentations, take questions from council members, from the public. We're going around to every single neighborhood board and giving the same presentation at every single neighborhood board. We are going to have a town hall at Kapolei Hale later this month. That's going to be just an informal kind of forum for people to just come and talk to us about the proposal. We're going to do a little presentation, but it's mainly like a Q&A information sharing session. We're also going to be doing one in town at the Blaisdell Center. I think it's on December 3rd. And so there's that too. We're going to be doing press releases in anticipation of those town halls. So we'll be making that public. We're also more public. We also are going to be in front of the Small Business Regulatory Board doing presentations in front of them throughout for the remainder of this month. We also, last but not least, I'll mention that everything that I talked about is kind of condensed in this 2-page flyer that I gave to all the board members. That I left about 20 copies on the desk over there, but it's also available at our website, honolulu.gov/ENV. So it's just kind of like a quick white paper on the basics of the rate increase proposal that should answer any question that you might have. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Thanks for that. Any questions from the board?
I have a question about the $10 million potential assistance. Is that a number that you all came up with? Is this something that City Council has a say in? It just seems like a very small percentage of our overall budget. And so I'm wondering if that number could be more reflective of the assistance that our community needs, particularly kupuna. Yeah. And that help.
Yeah, I mean, 10 million is gonna go a long way. There was some research and thought put into that. It's ultimately what it is about 2 to 3% of our annual revenue. This type of customer assistance program is something that's somewhat commonplace for utilities like ours on the continent. And so we looked at, and we also looked at the income qualifying level that we anticipate setting for the qualification for this program. And we think that the $10 million is going to be enough to address that. But that's not something, that $10 million is not something that's written in stone. It's our first swing at it. If it ends up being less, great. If it ends up being more, I think we have the flexibility to increase that too, if there's a need. Yeah.
Questions from the public?
So hi again, Michael. Thank you. Laura Ruby from the Ala-wai-Mauka Community Association. Yeah, my question is this. First, I have no question about what you're doing for us regular people, the individual people that use the facilities and everything. What I do have a real question about is all the big infill giant property construction that's going on. And I called up for Kuile Place, I called up the DPP, the Department of Planning and Permitting, and I said, well, why haven't you addressed the issues of water, sewer, and infrastructure of any type? And the woman said, we don't do that till after the planning has been permitted. This is after the fact. It should be done beforehand so that we know that we're not going to have this huge compound horde in our community at that time. So what happened is after that, I noticed that there was a big trenching of Kahuna Lena, and that was the checkerboard property on King and University, and they were digging something up probably for the sewer or whatever it is, and that's just way after the fact. Kahuna Lane's a very small and also very inundated in heavy rainfall and everything else. And that's just a backwards way of thinking about it. And I think that we're not contesting what we ourselves are contributing or receiving, but it's about what those big developments are going to do to our community. So thank you very much.
So that's a great question, Laura. It's one that's come up. It's one that's come up at other neighborhood boards, and I'll just say two quick things on that. First, these big developments, like these multi-hundred unit developments, they have to, as you might imagine, they pay much more than the average single family home to connect to our system. So there's a what's called a wastewater system facility charge, which is a fancy term for saying your initial connection fee. That connection fee is about $4,600. So I won't go too much into the details, but when you have like a 400 unit development, that development is that development essentially pays 400 times that $4,600. So that they pay quite a bit in order to connect. With respect to the permitting question, I think you got some misinformation. In order, before any development, whether it's a single family home or again, a 400 unit type situation, before any development is permitted, the developer has to submit requests to the utilities, including Board of Water Supply, including my department, ENV. Is there enough electrical infrastructure to accommodate the building? Is there enough freshwater infrastructure to accommodate? Is there enough sewer? If the answer is no, then the building does not get its permit, and it happens frequently. The one option that the developer has is if the developer wants to, if we say no, the sewer in front of your building is deficient, we're not going to connect to you. The developer has the option to build the sewer at its own cost and dedicate it to the city for free. And it happens. It sometimes pencils out for the developer. The developer does get a credit on some of their connection fees when they do that, so it's not totally a freebie for the city. But my point being is that they pay a lot more, and if the infrastructure is not there, they don't get permitted. If they want to get permitted, they gotta build it themselves and dedicate it to the city. So, but good. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about that.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm still not sure how to raise my hand usually. Mike, I just have a question. So when we're talking about these apartment complexes, whether it's like a giant high rise or whether it's, an 8-unit apartment, is there one sewage charge that is just given entirely for the building, or is this usually like itemized by unit?
Thanks, Morgan. That's a good question. It's usually one charge for the building. And it's similar, and let me just clarify that too. It's similar to the connection fee situation where I was talking about, like, again, if it's a 400 unit building, I mentioned as part of the bill, there's a base charge and then there's a fixed charge as a single bill. So if there's a 400 unit building, that base charge, again, just like the initial connection fee, that monthly base charge is multiplied by the number of equivalent single home units in the building. So a 400 unit building is paying approximately 400 base charges, and however much water they're using, they're paying all of that volume charge. So it's definitely scaled to the size of the building that's on the property, the bill.
But the sewage is not giving them a receipt, right? That says, you know, unit 201 used this much sewage, unit 202 used this much sewage. It's just kind of like your building overall charged this much.
Yeah, that's correct. Generally, there's one water meter that would service one building. And generally speaking, there are exceptions to that. But yeah, the meter going into the building will tell you how much water the entire building is consuming.
Entire
But,
building.
yeah, people don't ever what's called sub-meter out like the wastewater that goes into the sewer. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was just asking because, right, when you live in a place where there's like a water meter for every individual unit, then you're incentivized to use less water, right? In many ways, because you're only going to get charged on how much you use versus if it's just one critical mass amount, then you're going to be in a situation where you're kind of maybe not as incentivized to pay less. You're just going to be thinking that anyway. Anyway, that was just when I was wondering,
Yeah,
you know.
I think it's probably there's some truth to that. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to the Alloy Bridge project update.
Aloha board. My name is Roger Morton. I'm the director of the Department of Transportation Services. Thank you for inviting us back to give you an update on our bridge project. I know it's been a very controversial project for some of the people in Mōʻiliʻili. Yesterday we put out. Let me first of all to introduce. I have some staff here. I have Peter Garino. He is the project manager. You can see him after the meeting. And Gabriel Gish is one of our consultants in designing the bridge. But yesterday we made an important announcement to the public. There is a press release out that describes that we're not pausing the project, but we're going to take account of more opportunities for the community to weigh in on our bridge project. And this is in several ways, and it'll be covered in our presentation as to the additional ways that we're going to do it. First and foremost, just to, one of the most important decisions we made probably about 8 or 9 or 10 months ago was to switch our process from traditional design, bid, build opportunity to a design build. And one of the reasons we did that was because that provides additional ways that we can look at the design. We're not locked into one design. And at this point, I'd like Gabriel to start the presentation. I'm going to be here listening to you guys, and it was very timely for you to ask, and I'm happy that we're here today.
Okay. Forgive me if I'm going to sit in order to be able to run this slide. Once again, I'm Gabrielle Gersh. We're going to be discussing the Alawai Pedestrian Bridge project. First, I'm going to give you a brief project overview. I know for those of you in the room, shall I use this one instead? Thank you. This might be a little bit difficult to see, but it gives the overall scope, schedule, and budget of the project. It shows in the corner the cable stay structure you might be familiar with a 20-foot deck. It's almost a 300-foot span across the Alawai. We're expecting about 25,000 trips per week once the bridge is built. The total budget is about $63 million. 25 million of that is coming from federal funding through a raised grant with the Federal Highway Administration. The remainder of that is done with a 80-20 match, 80% federal, 20% local. So you can see in this pie chart the local funding that's being dedicated to the project, and then the amount of federal that we have as well. And then in terms of schedule, I have a couple of highlights on here. We had the draft environmental assessment back in March of 2021. We're currently wrapping up the historic properties consultation under Section 106 and 6E. We anticipate getting our environmental clearances by winter of 25, and we will have the procurement for the design builder over the next year, and then we'll have about 3.5 years of construction once the design builder is selected. I'm going to go through some of the recent updates that Roger discussed. We had the press release that was issued yesterday, and so I'll just run through some of the stuff that was discussed in there. As Roger talked about, one of the first things that we have is that we shifted the contracting model to a design build to allow for greater flexibility with not only the bridge type, but other things that we can consider, such as maintenance costs and impacts to the community, and then complete streets connectivity and the ability to use the bridge as a bike path, well, in connection with the bike path and the pedestrians. So one highlight in there is to allow for alternative configurations. We're going to allow the design builder to propose alternative configuration concepts. And these concepts are going to be reviewed by an advisory committee, which we'll get to in the subsequent slides. So this will allow us to have a different bridge than maybe the one you've seen before in the cable stayed design. So the consulting parties is a group of local community organizations who are involved in the Section 106 consultation process under the National Historic Preservation Act. And we have elected to invite select members of these groups to act on an advisory committee to provide feedback on the alternative configuration concepts that we receive from the proposals. So this is one way that we're tying into the community based on a plethora of feedback that we've received that people want to have more say in what the bridge looks like. So this is one of our initiatives on that front. The big thing that I'm very excited about is that we're having additional public charrette or public workshop. We previously went through an alternatives analysis process. We did extensive public outreach, but we recognize that time has passed since then. And so we want to do additional outreach to the public. We're going to have 2 workshops in about 2 weeks, one on November 20th, one on November 23rd. The November 20th is a weekday later at night, and the Saturday one is midday to allow for people to attend as they see fit. The intention of this is we're going to have various bridge types that might be proposed by the potential design builders, and members of the public will be able to rate these bridges on a scale of A to F, or A+ to F, like you're in school. So we'll be able to collect all of that data from the members of the public who attend, and we will take that data, compile it, and then provide it to the potential design builders to inform their choices. So that will allow them to say, the public prefers this option, they didn't prefer this option. So this is our way of trying to allow the public to have direct input into the type of bridge that we're going to see. More information about it is available in both the press release that came out and on the Alapona website. The next thing I'll talk about is the comfort station reconfiguration. We heard quite a lot from various members of the community about the concern of the increase in traffic in the area and the demand on the comfort station. And so we obtained approval from the Federal Highway Administration, who is the main federal agency behind this project, to reconfigure the stalls, leave the structure intact, reconfigure the inside to allow for about a 50% increase in the capacity. So we're very excited to that. The park will now be able to accommodate a higher rate of users that's coming through. And then this will be included in the design build contract as well. So it will all be done in a single contract. The next thing I'll touch on is the halau. $1 million was included in the city's fiscal year 25 budget for a new halau at Alawai Neighborhood Park. And we obtained approval to include that $1 million with the design build contract so that construction may go on the halau at the same time as it's going on the bridge to minimize impacts to the community and make sure that we can get the construction done in a timely manner. It also allows for a cost saving opportunity as the project is packaged in a bigger group with the bridge. We're hoping that the design builders, since they would already be mobilized and they have other cost saving opportunities, to allow for that $1 million to go further. We're also electing to provide a comment period on the final environmental assessment. It's not required by federal regulations, but in the sense of getting additional community feedback. Once the environmental assessment is released, we will collect public comments, and then those will be considered when all of the documents are given to the Federal Highway Administration. This is anticipated in about the winter of 2025. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Does anyone have any questions?
Go ahead, Paul.
I do have a question. I haven't seen anything about parking.
Yeah, parking is included in the design build contract. So we will have allowances for parking to reconfigure the parking area and also for increased security.
Good. So you're just going to use that one lot for parking?
That's the intention in the project, yes, but it will be reconfigured.
So, yeah, so all that is together. Yeah. The neighbors in that area will really like that.
Good.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just a couple questions maybe. First, I just want to say thanks for coming to present additional information about the bridge. I also attended maybe about a month or so ago, a few weeks ago, a presentation that I think was sponsored by Complete Streets about pedestrian safety. And it was a very interesting presentation, and the data that was presented was really alarming in that they noted both Kapahulu and McCully, are very, right now, pretty dangerous routes, which are our neighborhood's only sort of route into Waikiki. So I'm very glad to see the progress being made on the bridge project, because it will literally be life-saving. It's so important for public safety, and I'm glad the city is prioritizing that in addition to just improving pedestrian and bicycle transportation. My question is, if you are changing the design, will that add time to the timeline that you've presented?
The intention is not to add time. The way that it's going to be structured is the base concept is an option for the proposers to propose if they wish. We're encouraging them to do other, as we said, with the public information we're providing them. It's not going to add time to the design, because either way in a design build contract, the contractor is the one owning that design. So they will have to take that to a final stage, regardless of which bridge type they end up using.
Morgan?
Thank you so much for coming to this meeting. It was really interesting to hear you talk about all of this stuff. I have a couple of questions. First, regarding the comfort station, just as someone who's been inside of there before, I feel like the doors are about 4 feet tall and the lighting's really dim. Do some of your changes that you guys want to do address that as far as like privacy and lighting?
The idea with the comfort station, we've been talking to the Parks Department, would be to bring up that inside part up to code, including ADA code. So we would be improving that to today's standards, since it is an older comfort station. So the interior that we're reconfiguring will meet the standards required by parks if they were to build a new structure today.
Thank you. That sounds great. As far as I doubt that this project encapsulates this, but is there any opportunity to improve the playground? I say that because that playground is extremely popular and also extremely small.
What
Yeah,
do you
so
mean
any-
by improve in terms of?
Add swings, add more slides, add more, modernize it.
So
Yeah.
that is outside of the scope of this project. Obviously, we do have work within the park that will impact various parts of the park, but we are not at this time including that in the scope for the project.
Okay, 2 other questions. One of them involves like complete streets. So right now, kind of like the entrance to that park is weird if you are driving into it from Komoku Street. Like it's just kind of weird to make a left into it. And I'm just thinking, if you're like a bicyclist, sometimes I just get on the sidewalk by the school to kind of turn into it. Is there going to be any biking infrastructure that's done around that entrance? And also kind of Laura Ruby and I talk a lot about like the pedestrian safety access with regards to that turn on University in Komoku. And I didn't know if the complete streets plus the bridge plus the entrance to the park, if that is going to be part of what you guys are working on at all.
So one of the things that we're going to evaluate when we have the proposers submit alternative concepts is the connectivity between the University Corridor, LOI Boulevard, that whole area. So that is something that we're going to be focusing on. What the final layout ends up being is will be determined later, but that is something that we're prioritizing when we are evaluating the alternative concepts. So that is included in the project.
Thanks for taking all these questions. Just one more. So right now you have the area where you have the dog parks and then the community garden, and it obviously goes past the halau for the canoes. You continue on to McCully and the parking lot area. What will we have access to during the construction period, and what will we not have access to?
So we have established, and it'll be published when we develop the final environmental documents, but we do have commitments that we are working on with Waikiki Surf, other users of the halau, to maintain access to the water and the docks. And then in terms of park access, we will work with the design builder to minimize impacts. That's one of the things that we can consider in design build contract is impacts to the community. So we will work with them to try and minimize impact because we recognize you want to be able to use the park. So it is something we will keep in mind with both schedule and disturbance during construction.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to this bridge.
Daryl?
Hi, thank you for all the information, but what I wanted to ask is the location at the end of the university finalized? That's the spot that the bridge is going to be at, or
the intention is to tie into that university corridor to allow for bike access from university. The exact location of the bridge abutments and the ramps on and off the bridge will be determined by the design builder, but it will be in that general area, yes.
do you think about maybe having it down by the dog park? Having it by the dog park, coming across from where it's across is Lewis Street. Go ahead.
So, sorry, are you finished? I don't want to cut you
I'm
off.
finished. I'm finished.
Okay.
Thank you.
As part of the alternatives analysis, a number of other locations were assessed as well as non-bridge options and just improving the existing bridges. And the university corridor was selected as the preferred alternative. We are, like I said, allowing for some amount of movement as long as they are still tying into that university corridor, but we do have our environmental clearances within a designated area. So the bridge will be built within that area. So it's going to stay generally where it's at now, but we are allowing for flexibility within the environmental commitments that we've already made.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on to questions from the public. Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much for your update, Laura Ruby, the LOI Mauka Community Association. Mr. Mayor, I know you're going to watch this. Please do. First of all, you have objected to cutting down on traffic lanes on Alawai Boulevard. The complete streets, which is conjoined with this, is going to cut down on it's going to increase your traffic problems there, first of all. Second of all, Mr. Mayor, it was not necessarily decided that this was a site because the Bicycle League. I know. Okay. Okay, Chris. Hey, hello, Chris. Yes, there were quite a number of bicycle leaguers, and I bet for these next two presentations, people are triggering the bicycle leaguers. They just want to get somewhere. They don't care about what it looks like. I've talked to the bicycle leaguers. They just want to somehow get there. And halfway between McCully Bridge and the Waikiki Library is not where it's being built. You know that it's a fraction of the distance to the McCully Bridge and so forth. But I'd like to address bigger picture, which is, first of all, to satisfy some of the halau people, the Waikiki Surf Club. They have $1 million that comes from the city and county. They need to be separated. They need to decide on their own property area. That means they have to have a plot plan coming from the city and county so that they know where it is. And they can suggest that they want to have a Hawaiian architect and a Hawaiian contractor fulfill that $1 million contract. Let's keep the collaboration out of it, because that will only add money and add time to it. It'll be done in a much quicker way, and it will be satisfying to the canoe halau and all of the canoers. There's huge regattas that are out there, and you just have to have all of the turnaround time with the big trailers and everything else, and all of the hundreds
Laura,
of cars that come.
Wrap it up. You're at 2 minutes.
Okay. Finally, we have Pacific Islanders that are 100 to 200 people every week in the community. The community gardeners are huge numbers. They're almost up to 50 years. We have, and I would like to be a consulting party, and that has to do with all of my qualifications with state and national historic preservation nominations, with my teaching of the large public sculptures.
Laura, do you have a
at
question?
UH. And the question is, will you take all of our consulting parties into consideration before you ever give out the RFPs to the people, so they would not waste their time proposing something that is not going to be necessary for the community or for anybody else? Thank you very much.
I will try to touch on everything. If I forget something, you can nudge me. First that we had was the bikes tying into that location. One thing, like I said, we are considering is the connectivity with complete streets. So we are looking at it's not only just bikes, and it's not only just pedestrians, it's people with accessibility and mobility problems and who use mobility aids. And so we're looking to serve the whole community. So when we're identifying locations for the bridge, that is something that's taken into account, and we will be working with the Complete Streets group in order to tie into the connectivity with all the various modes of transportation. The second thing is the halau. We actually just met with the halau manager yesterday to discuss how they want the halau structured. So we are tied into them. We will be having subsequent meetings with them, and they will be included when we are designing the halau. So even though it will be included in the design build contract, they are tied into that process. So we will have regular conversations with them to ensure that we're going to achieve their needs when we're designing this. Yes, it's different money, but as I said, when you're having a larger project, it allows for efficiencies in the bid. So it is different pots of money that will be included as an option in the design build contract, but it hopefully will allow us to build more than we would if we were going under a separate contract. The next one I had was the consulting parties taken into account. A large part of the things that I presented today have been driven by feedback from the consulting parties, and Laura has been involved with that. And particularly the charrette, I know, was something that was asked for and we're providing. It's before the RFP goes out, the intention is to take all of the data collected, not only from the consulting parties, but all the members of the public, and be able to provide that to the design builder. So that's definitely something that we've heard. In addition, the accessibility and keeping various parts of the park open, the comfort station have all come directly from consulting party feedback and feedback from other members of the community that we've gathered, particularly in the historic properties consultation. So even though we were focusing on a historic property under Section 106, we did hear community concerns about all of these various other things, which is how, when we went down our list, a lot of these are being addressed. So that's something we're trying to hear all of your feedback, trying to take that and then engage it into the whole process of the project to give something that's going to serve the entire community when it's finished. So we do hear you, and we really appreciate everyone's time and effort, and we're hoping it makes a better project and one that can serve everyone better than it would if we were just off doing our own thing. So we do appreciate your feedback.
Hi, I'm Allison Peterson from the community. I'm very glad that, this is all happening. I saw it in the Star Advertiser in the Kokua line. There was a whole thing. I received an email from Complete Streets, so that was great. My question is, or the first one, how are you doing any more outreach to the public? I mean, like, how are you letting them know about these workshops? Because I think that's been like a concern in the past for not just this project, but for other projects that people say, I didn't know. I didn't know there was a meeting. I didn't know there was a presentation or anything like that. So is there going to be more proactive outreach than just say, hey, our information is on the website? Because that's quite passive, right? So my second question is really quick as well. In a previous conversation I had with someone in the department, the concern about safety came up. And I understand it's not part of your department. I'm just wondering, is there active collaboration with HPD or any other enforcement department about how any potential overflow safety, issues could come up? I mean, are you working with them?
Thanks. I suppose I could be standing up for each one of these as well. So first, outreach to the public. The press release just came out yesterday. We have been looking into other things of notifying residences in the area and other community centers. That is something we're looking into. We do hope to get the news out a little bit more. As you saw, it was just released yesterday. It was in the Star Advertiser and a number of other publications. So we are working on distributing the news. We will have additional notifications on the exact time and location will be published. And the next one was active collaboration with HPD. The one thing that I think of is that we do have an allowance, like I was saying, for parking management. So what that exactly will look like is yet to be seen, but it might involve collaboration at that end. So when we get to that stage in the design, we'll probably be taking that into account. Safety in terms of monitoring the area or patrols. That is something that has come up. We recognize that it's a concern. We are taking measures with our projects such as lighting and the whole alignment through the area to try and maximize the safety from a hard infrastructure standpoint, as opposed to a patrol standpoint. HPD doesn't have a station or anything there, but we are going to try and maximize safety throughout that corridor the best that we can on our side.
Aloha and good evening. My name is Eduardo Hernandez. I'm the Advocacy Director with the Hawaii Bicycling League. And this evening, I'd like to thank the board for inviting the city to make this presentation. Our organization, we're a nearly 50-year-old nonprofit community organization based here in Honolulu. Our office is on Waialae Avenue in Kaimuki. But we act statewide and we have members statewide, and we're concerned about making helping people to bike more for health, recreation, and importantly for transportation. And in recent years, we've been leaning into, we're not just about supporting people who ride bikes, but a truly multimodal transportation is what we're striving for, people who walk, ride, or roll. We know that this is increasingly important for our community, particularly in light of the recent settlement this year, Navahini v. Department of Transportation, which requires the state of Hawaii to build out in full our bike and pedestrian network within 5 years. And this project is one that we have more than 1,000 members and communicate with more than about 20,000 people that are on our mailing list monthly who've asked to be part of our advocacy and to elevate their
We're offline. We're offline.
I thought it was just me, but yeah, I don't have picture anymore or audio from the board meeting.
They cut us off.
Chair, I'm Cam Napier. I live at the Marco Polo. Been a fan of the bridge idea ever since I moved into the neighborhood more than a decade ago. I love the current design, and I do recall that that was in its time the result of extensive public outreach with many charrettes. So, as I recall, the public voted on the current design. I think it is lovely. There's an opportunity to create a signature piece of architecture that would really stand out. I mean, let's face it, the Aloi Canal is not the most beautiful piece of infrastructure in the world. It's no Venice. The bridge would pretty it up quite a bit. It could be like a rival to Aloha Tower. I don't know if this is permissible. I have a question for another person. Laura Ruby referred to an association I'm not familiar with, the Aloi something Community Association. And I was just curious, like, what is that? When was that founded? Who's in it?
I
What
think
does it
that's a
do?
conversation for after the meeting.
Okay, fair enough. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Just real quick, where you talked about you like that the current design at the charrette, we will have many designs. If you like the current one, you can come out and vote for it. So we'll have all sorts of things that everyone will be able to participate and give their voices and their feedback.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing us this opportunity to hear a bit more about the project, and thank you for your presentation. My question's about use cases. One thing I hear a lot, and I don't know how we estimate this, but I suspect it might be true, is that many people who use this bridge might be workers going into Waikiki who might be driving from communities further away. Of course, parking is a premium in that part of the community, but it's even more so in Waikiki. So there's a lot of suspicion that people will park in that part of the neighborhood beyond where the park expansion might be to walk over, and that'll put a lot of more parking pressure for the neighbors there. I'm wondering if you have any modeling on who you're suspecting will be using and in what numbers and what the broader parking impacts might be and how that fit into your current parking expansion plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd have to look into the exact makeup of the estimated traffic in terms of the users. In terms of parking, we do actually have specific funding to address parking concerns. And the intention is to allow or to install parking management. The exact method of that will depend on additional outreach and feedback we receive, as well as the final design of the bridge. But we have heard that there is parking concerns, whether that's issuing permits to park users of the halau and local people who would be there for longer periods of time. We recognize that there is a concern people may just come park at 6 a.m, stay all day, and then leave. So we are going to try and do our best to include, like I was saying before, hard infrastructure measures or some other parking management measures to address that.
How wide is this? How wide is this bridge going to be?
The base concept is 20 feet wide with the allowance for additional designs. They will have the option, they will have to accommodate a certain bike traffic, pedestrian traffic, but we'll be working with Complete Streets to determine the best way to potentially separate or not separate.
Also, emergency vehicles, that's what I heard. I read about. No.
No.
No cars, no nothing.
No.
Parking.
We have some questions online. Daisy?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for the presentation. According to DTS Director Morton, he mentioned that the Alawai Bridge or Alapona Bridge is actually part of the Complete Street project, which connects to Alawai Boulevard. So maybe in time, Alawai Boulevard might have a wider bicycle lane configuration. That's possible. Further constricting traffic in and out of Waikiki and into our community is not only McCully, Mōʻiliʻili, but the surrounding areas of Kapahulu and even into beyond that, Diamond Head. Regarding the survey taken at one of the meetings by the city that was before your time, those people that voted could only vote if you had a smartphone. Those without smartphones, their votes were not counted. So that shows you how one-sided the questionings were. I also need to make sure that you are and others are very familiar with the grounds of where you're going to plant the big construction of the bridge. You know, have you ever visited that area to see that the soil is so soft that feral chickens there are already making nests by being able to dig into the holes. Parks Department did a great job of, filling it up, but then you still have the same problem. And you think that it's going to be strong enough to support any kind of structure going over it. So you need to really look and see where you're building, because there's also, I believe, a drainage system. I'm not sure if it's sewer right underneath that section where it starts or ends from Mōʻiliʻili to Waikiki. So you need to make sure that those things, and actually the environmental assessment doesn't show that. You should go to a full EIS, which shows all these different components. It's not only for the community, but it also means how are they going to really build it. Maybe you could use a lighter type of materials for the bridge. And also I would suggest if you could do the same presentation at next week's number 5, which is the Diamond Head, Kapaholo, St. Louis Heights Neighborhood Board. They meet at Pakihale at 6 o'clock. They would appreciate such a presentation because it abuts to their community. So these are things that the community really needs to focus on, because it's not only this community, it's all people that use this area. It's going to congest the area. The city is trying to make the streets of Waikiki more narrow. Guess what? Where do they?
Izzy,
Yes.
your 2 minutes are up. Wrap it up.
Okay, just to make sure that a full EIS is much needed and EA is nothing. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go through these one at a time again. The first thing about surveys and isolating parts of the community, the charrettes that we will be having will be paper. Anyone can come and use it. We'll have plenty of time for them to take as much time as they need to view what we have on display and and write down their opinions and their ratings. The second thing you talked about was the soft ground and geotechnical concerns. As part of the investigations for this project, we do geotechnical borings, and we do develop preliminary foundations for the design that we had. So we do consider that when we're taking it into account, and when the design builder will be doing it, they will also be looking at the geotechnical conditions in that area. They may take additional borings, and they will design the foundation accordingly. In terms of the utilities in the area, we are aware of the utilities in the area. That information will be communicated to the design builders to minimize impacts. Right now, the current design is designed to avoid impacts. So once we receive the alternative configuration concepts, that will be something that the design builder can take into account as well. The next thing is the EA versus the EIS. So an environmental assessment is one step in the National Environmental Policy Act process. So when you have a project, a federally funded project, what you are looking at first is you go, do we know if this is going to cause significant impacts? You could say, yes, automatically we do. Then it would go to an environmental impact statement. Or you could say, no, it is on this list of projects that always have very little impact, such as resurfacing. Then you have, well, we don't know what the impacts are. And in that case, we do an environmental assessment. So for this project, we are looking at the impacts of the project to the fullest extent that we can. That's why we've had this extended environmental consultation process. Once we develop an environmental assessment, it goes to the federal agency, which in this case is the Federal Highway Administration, to make a determination whether they need an EIS or they declare a finding of no significant impact or a FONSI. So we are doing investigations into project impacts, and it will be up to the federal government and the Federal Highway Administration to make that determination if another document and further investigations are required.
Can I ask one more question? What about mopeds? Are they going to be allowed?
The intention is no motorized vehicle. I hate saying no motorized vehicles because we will, no, wheelchair and mobility aids are allowed, but no mopeds.
No electrical bicycles, nothing like that.
The intention is no e-bikes because the speeds that those travel at are not compatible with other modes of transportation. So the idea is to protect
mopeds.
Safety. Yeah.
Laura. We have a question from Michelle online.
Mahalo, Vice Chair. I'm Michelle Matson. I am the Planning and Zoning Chair for the Diamond Head Kapalulu St. Louis Heights Neighborhood Board. I'm also president of the Diamond Head State Monument Foundation, speaking as an individual tonight. I have several questions and in the interest of time limits, I will list them sequentially. I would like to extend my aloha to Roger Morton, who is present, and I have a question for Gabrielle, who I appreciate providing all this detailed information. I'd like to know, as I expressed in my email to her, if she is a city employee on the DTS payroll or an employee of the for-profit consultant Parsons. Secondly, I would like to know more about the selective consulting parties mentioned by Gabrielle, as I am an authorized consulting party, yet I have not received any indication that I would be welcome in this process. Either as, and the neighborhood board has acknowledged that the consulting party is also a status at that level. Then the next thing is using University Avenue for access and alternatives that are basically swept under the rug. We do know from past reports that the McCully Bridge was actually chosen for the purpose of pedestrian and bicycle use to move for transportation purposes across the LOI without building this multi-million-dollar obstruction to the historic site. Yet the alternatives of the McCully Bridge, the most reasonable alternative, which DTS did provide funding calculations for before they opted to undercut other projects at OMPO for the funding, for the federal funding, which brings another question to mind as to why this has been manipulated and structured in this way, and for what purpose and for what special interests. Obviously, we have a bicycle
Michelle,
cartel.
your 2 minutes are up.
And I would like our so-called consultant, as well as our respected DTS director, to address these questions at the next, at this meeting, as well as the next week's Diamond Head, St. Louis Heights Kapahulu Neighborhood Board meeting on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. First of all, I do work for Parsons, but Parsons has a contract with the city and county of Honolulu to provide expertise and act as the owner's representative in cases such as this and in other aspects of the project. The second thing, in terms of consulting parties, we have not extended the invitations at this time to the consulting parties. That will come later in the procurement process once we have the RFP. And we'll be in contact with the consulting parties at that time to extend them the invitation. In terms of why we are doing Alawai and why McCully is not being addressed. So one of the things is that we are receiving a federal grant for this project of $25 million. And DTS is advancing this project separately from their other capital improvements. And you can address that perhaps, but their other capital improvements and maintenance projects are a separate endeavor from this one. And this one has received special funding from the federal government that we definitely want to take full advantage of because it allows us to extend the local dollar much more than it would be if we were just going to try and do this under local funding. So that's a very good opportunity that we want to try and serve our community as best we can. And then in terms of who is using it, we touched on this before. It's intended to serve all members of the public. So whether you're on a bike or you're on foot or you're doing other things, you're using the bridge in another way. Perhaps people want to go watch the canoes. So we're intending to serve all members of the public. It's not driven by a single entity or a single goal for a specific user, other than we're trying to increase safety in the area and we're trying to allow for more connectivity between within that corridor and between Waikiki and Mōʻiliʻili.
Can you walk up to the mic?
So you you indicated that the city does not have to approve or concur with the final EIS?
That's not the way it's structured.
What you said,
Yeah.
it's implied that.
So let me clarify.
Because you're telling about what needs to happen in order to approve it. And so you said it, but you didn't say the complete picture or?
So it's not a approval thing. What it is, well, no, it's a determination. So what would happen is the city is working to complete the final EA. And then at that point, we give all of that information. We say, this is the expected impacts of the project. We give that to the Federal Highway Administration. They're the ones who determine if an EIS is necessary. If it is, then the city will come back in and do additional investigations at that point and develop that document. So it's not they wouldn't approve it at that point. They would make a determination that one is needed or it is not needed.
So let's say at the end of the process, they approve it.
Okay.
And there's a dispute as to whether it's adequate. Who is a party to that dispute? Does the city, so the question is that how much is the city on the hook for this?
In terms of a dispute, the city provides,
I know I'm asking you, you're asking, you should probably answer, not her, because you're not credible to answer that. I'm sorry. I mean, a paid consultant doesn't get to answer that kind of stuff.
Go ahead, Senator.
Okay, so the question is, Gabriel implied that the city, that it just takes the federal government to get this going and whatnot.
Well, the federal side of it is to determine whether it complies with.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And that's a determination, where it's a priority for the city. It's a priority for the city administration. Yeah. And so we're struggling to try to get the best project we can. We've come with many new information today over our willingness to sit down with all of the parties and to look and see if we can come up with a consensus. Never going to get 100%, you know that, Les, but we're gonna do our best to try to navigate through and get the project that's the best. Now, we follow the NEPA guidelines. We're using federal funds. We're using federal transportation funds, and that means that we follow their prescribed process, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I appreciate
Yeah.
what you're doing, and I appreciate where you're headed, and I appreciate that it's in response to the the criticism of the lack of public input, and you're now providing it. So I appreciate that. I just want to get clear on the process. So let's say let's say the optimum solution would be that there's a consensus.
Sure.
Okay. Now, and that's fine, and that's preferable. Let's say if there's not, I want to get clear on the process now. And that's why I'm asking what happens if there is not a consensus.
Well,
Because we want to have it work out any which way, right?
I mean, there's no project where there's 100% consensus. The community has the right to expect us to follow the law, to follow the procedures. You know how that works. And after many years of, I know you represent this community for many years. Ultimately, we're going to try to find the best thing. If there was, there's always the potential for litigation. We hope that there isn't any, but that's something the city can't control.
Right.
And that's a reality on any project that we do.
Right. Well, I would prefer not litigation.
And
too.
so would I.
So I think that's a common goal.
That's kind of why we're opening this process up
Right.
again, is that we do not want litigation. We don't want a community that feels that we're foisting something upon them. We're out here. My personal view is I'm in favor of a bridge to help us complete our complete streets projects, to help us connect the communities, the connectivity. We're doing this island wide. We're not just doing it in Mōʻiliʻili, Waikiki. We're doing it we're doing it in Ewa. We're doing it in Waianae. We're doing it island wide. We hope to eventually get to all parts of the island, the windward side, the North Shore side. But these are things that will take us decades to get done. They will take us decades, but that's the commitment that we're on right now, is that we're committed to doing it. In this case, this is an important linkage for our entire one. It's urban Honolulu. It's connecting the University of Hawaii. It is connecting Waikiki. Those are all, the highest use areas on the island.
Sure.
So
Yeah, so I appreciate all that. My request is that whenever anyone talks about the process, that it be complete information. I know you, and some people want a lawsuit, but I don't want a lawsuit. And so, but I think we do need to state it, that a neutral arbiter, which is a judge, would decide if there's any dispute. Now, and hopefully there won't be enough to raise money and all that to end up with the arbiter says it's fine, because they'll just delay it, unnecessarily. So I
there's your hope.
Yeah, I appreciate and actually we're meeting with me and being responsive as you are. It's been, from what I can say is there's been 100% increase in responsiveness. So thank you very much.
Part of that was because of conversations we've had over the last, year or so. And I appreciate your willingness I appreciate you coming down to the meeting and showing your concern for your community.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Edward?
It's probably, I want to apologize to especially the young woman for is it uncivility or incivility of one online attendant. And then the gentleman just spoke, two comments that the online person said the so-called consultant, this gentleman over here, you're not qualified. I just want to apologize for these people that speak in this manner when I think you did a hell of a job in this presentation. You're really very well studied in it, and you've selected a good person as your lieutenant or your assistant.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Moving on to unemployment insurance.
Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. This is Tanya Lee. I'm standing in for Arthur Barba, who had a previous engagement. I'm not sure what question an individual board member had, but let me just start off with the unemployment insurance program does provide temporary financial assistance to qualified workers who do become unemployed through no fault of their own. The slideshow that is, the link is on the agenda, gives details into the benefit information of someone who needs to file for unemployment. On a side note, during the pandemic, our system, which is still the mainframe, over 40 years old, couldn't handle the volume of unemployed individuals. So we have done the RFP and we have awarded a contract to Netascent to provide a modernized unemployment system. It will probably launch beginning of 2027. Gonna take about 2.5 years for that to come to fruition. And it'll be both sides, on benefits and on the unemployment tax side for the employers. Besides that, we are right now currently working on the 2 labor disputes, the Hawaii Nurses Association, Kapi'olani Hospital nurses, and the Hilton. So we've had a lot of individuals apply for unemployment during the strike. And Hilton just went back to work on Tuesday. They ratified the contract on Monday. So our section is working on the investigation to see whether or not the individuals that applied do qualify for unemployment during the strike period or not. Beyond that, I will take, if there's a specific question or any other board or community questions.
Any questions from the board?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So as most people know, right, we have about 11 bases here in the island of Hawaii. We have about like 70,000 military personnel and that contribute in the island. And they contribute about $4.6 billion annually. Most of these personnel, military personnel, sometimes they retire. And when they retire, unfortunately, the retirement payment sometimes is not enough for them to live in the island of Hawaii. And when they go to the unemployment, most of them, they get denied. The question is, how can you help those personnel? And what help are you guys giving, or what kind of help are you guys providing to the veterans here in Hawaii?
So the program provides financial assistance to qualified workers who become unemployed through no fault of their own. If they decide to retire, they are not unemployed through no fault of their own. It's a personal choice. So our program cannot. It's a federally funded and federally run program, and that's the eligibility requirements to be able to collect unemployment benefits.
All right. So do you guys have personnel working there that can give help to military and veterans?
I don't understand your question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I
What do you
understand
mean?
what you say about. Okay, so do you guys have personnel there that works with military personnel in
But
the
the majority of
unemployment
the
office?
individuals that file for unemployment file online. I'd say 90% of the applications are online. We do have an office on Punchbowl Street that does, we take walk-ins. We have computers in our lobby, and they can come into the office and apply with us.
Any questions from the public? Any questions online?
Aloha, this is board member Aldana. I just wanted to give you all and your department, your office, many thanks. I was a healthcare worker. I'm still a healthcare worker during the pandemic, when we saw a lot of members in our community having to navigate the unemployment website for the first time. And I know that you guys were under a lot of stress during that time and you didn't have enough staff like many of our departments do at the government level. And so I am someone that worked with staff from your office to verify employees of mine that had unemployment. And so I want to recognize all of the hard work that you all have done and continue to do. Mahalo.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And thank you for your time. Next up, we have green stormwater infrastructure.
Hi, can everybody see my screen? Yep. Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board. Thank you, neighbors, civil servants, and everyone else who preceded me tonight. Aloha mai kako. My name is Cyrus Howe. I work at Hawaii Green Growth, a local nonprofit in the sustainable development field. And this project I'm going to be sharing with you very quickly tonight is one that can actually, potentially impact all of us more than the Alawai Bridge and some other large infrastructure projects through what we call distributed green stormwater infrastructure. Sorry about that. So this project is taking place in the Alawai watershed, which is quite large. It encompasses, as you can see here, 11 to 12 neighborhoods, communities, from the Ko'olau ridgetops all the way down to the beach, from Punch Bowl, Papakolea, all the way east to Diamond Head, Palolo. And we have about 200,000 residents in this area, very densely populated urban hardscape. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of groundwater runoff. And well, I guess you don't have to imagine because we've seen it over the last 2 weeks from all the rain. Groundwater runoff, also, small scale flooding just from these rains, but larger storms can cause flooding. And the project we're out to do, and we've been doing since spring of this year, is also to recharge our aquifers, because we know that that's really important too. So we do this. Green stormwater infrastructure is just a fancy term really for rain gardens, rain barrels, permeable pavement, bioswales, all these ways to capture rain at the property level before it runs off of our rooftops, our driveways, into the streets, into the storm drains, which are separate from the sewer system, by the way. The storm drains into our streams, the Alawai Canal, and then ultimately the ocean. We're sponsored federally by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, locally by the Hawaii Community Foundation, and also listed here are our partners. So 3R Water is the local tech company that developed the app, also called Follow the Drop, that we use to conduct home rainwater assessments, which I'll be dropping a link in the chat for everyone here to sign up if they like. And then we're also the City and County's Department of Facility Maintenance. They license the app. The hope is that we'll be able to, or the plan is that we'll be able to upload these potential GSI, green stormwater infrastructure projects, through the app to DFM for their stormwater quality division to assess themselves to see if they qualify for like a credit for the expected stormwater utility fee that it's no secret. It's been they've been talking about it, socializing the news, but still fine-tuning the details behind that. I just wanted to start by sharing a few slides about our progress so far. Over the summer, we had a team of interns that with their iPads visited residents across the watershed to conduct these rainwater assessments, basically quantifying each property's rainwater footprint. We draw polygons on a satellite image of the property's rooftop, for example, and that tells us with the average annual rainfall data for the area, the number of gallons each home's downspout experiences on average per year. And then that tells us the best size and type of GSI, whether that's a 55 or 100 or 350-gallon rain barrels, a rain garden by square footage, or permeable pavements. And so the bullet points on my slide here just show, and this is a little bit out of date just because we've visited more sites since then, but it's close enough. A number of schools, 5 schools, including Ali'iolani in Palolo, we're hoping to win a grant from UHC grant to put in a rain garden in front of their cafeteria. Ultimately, we've identified well over 600,000 square feet of impervious surface area, meaning hardscape concrete, these surfaces where rain cannot penetrate into the ground. And those surfaces are responsible for 17 million gallons of runoff per year on average. And then of those, 10 million are capturable. So that's a pretty big amount for relatively few or small number of sites that we visited, about 50 or so. But that amounts to 15 Olympic swimming pools. Each Olympic swimming pool is around 660,000 gallons. And so that's a lot. And just to break it down a little bit further for relatability or understandability, each person consumes about 80 gallons per day. This is just a little bit about the app. So you can download this from either the Android App Store or the iPhone App Store. You just want to use the account ID HGG in caps when you're registering an account in the app. So that's HGG. And this is a picture of one of our interns just showing the app in use with one of the residents that we visited. We compose a report based on our findings within a week, and we send that off with our recommendations. And then we do a follow-up 6 months thereafter to check in with them to see what their thoughts are. This is just another diagram, basically, of what I've described, the kind of hydrological cycle from rain clouds to rain roof driveway into the storm drains. Listed on the left are just a couple other GSIs that I didn't list at the beginning. And then, it's really encouraging for us to see that the markets are indicating that there's demand. These are pictures of rain barrels from City Mill on the left, and then actually at Sam's Club. I couldn't believe it when I saw this is a picture I took just shopping there of rain barrels. And then to have the Board of Water Supply issuing $40 rebates for each rain barrel resident buys. And that applies Oahu-wide, so not just our watershed. These are some that we've observed in the wild during our assessments. Great to see that, some people are already, kind of early adopters. People use this to water their gardens, their lawns. You can see in the picture on the right here, there's some permeable pavement. Those are called the open-celled. You've probably seen these. Some of your neighbors probably have these. They're kind of like square cross stitch kind of concrete, but they have grass in between. I think they look kind of nice. This is a picture of anybody familiar with this public restroom. This is the trailhead to Makiki Trail up by the Department of Forest and Wildlife, I think, back there at the back of Makiki kind of valley at the foot of Tantalus. And they have I think it's a 300 gallon rain tank. And so I think this is just brilliant design, and I wanted to show that off to give other people an idea of how these things are being used and where they exist in our built environment. And you can see the small small white pipe. This is for people to rinse their boots off before and after hiking. These are just some more examples of what we mean when we say permeable pavements. We found that these can make a big impact in terms of absorption and recharging our aquifers. The picture top left is from Maui. The one on the right is home on St. Louis Heights. Left picture here is Punahou, and the one in the middle or on the right is actually at UH Manoa. And then there's porous concretes and asphalts too, so you can kind of see a comparison side-by-side picture. That bottom left one of a parking lot where you have permeable and impermeable surfaces. One's absorbing the water, one isn't. Punahou School, again, with another example for one walking path there. And then yet other examples of this, this style of permeable pavements. So they can be very aesthetically pleasing. Rain gardens, like I said before, another one. This is on the left, 11th and Harding. So this catches a lot of runoff from that parking lot there. Many of us are familiar with that shopping area. And then at the Waikiki Aquarium, they have a beautiful rain garden to the left. A lot of people miss it. It's just to the left of the entrance. And so this chart shows our findings between the capture potential versus the popularity. So rain barrels are very, popular because of their low cost, low maintenance. But you can see on the far right there, permeable pavements potential to capture, and they're a little bit more expensive, but they are also relatively low maintenance if installed correctly. So with that, I'll end my presentation and pause or stop for any questions. If there are any questions, now's the time. I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Question from the public?
Thank you so much for your presentation. I have a rain barrel.
Right on. Have us out. We'll quantify. We can...
What was the app again, please?
It's called Follow the Drop. And in the chat is the web page URL to where people can book with us, and it takes you to a Google Calendar booking page. It's also the same as that QR code that I just had showing.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving on to board business. We have 5 absences from Lindsay Allred. We have a motion to vacate their seat.
I'm motion that we vacate his seat.
You could say.
I second.
Curtis, do you want to do a roll call vote?
The motion is to seat. Starting the roll call, Aldana. Aye. Allred. Absent. Del Valle. Aye. Caldera.
Aye.
Aye. Halls. Aye. Kachuk. Aye. Kim. Absent. Lee.
Aye.
Aye. Quadri. Absent.
Oh,
Rabadi.
Quadri. Yeah, Quadri is here. Yes.
Oh, Quadri.
Yeah,
You vote
Quadri is
yes?
there. Yes.
Okay,
Aye.
aye. Robati. Aye. Salas.
Aye.
Aye. Young.
Aye.
Aye. On a vote of 10-0, the seat is now vacant. And now you can fill 2 at-large board seats.
Moving on, do we have any nominations for the 2 vacant seats?
You do have an interested former board member, if someone would like to nominate him.
I nominate Dave Barber to come back to our board.
I second.
I think we're fine with voting.
Okay, David Barber has been nominated to fill a vacant at-large board seat. If you could say David Barber, if you're voting in favor of Dave Barber to fill the vacancy. All right, Aldana.
David Barber.
Barber. Allred, no, Allred is not on the board. Del Valle.
David Barber.
David Barber. Caldera.
David Butler.
Thank you, Barber. Hulls. Barber. Kachuk. Barber. Kim, absent. Lee.
David Barber.
Barber. Quadri.
Yes, I.
Barber, okay. Robati.
David Barber.
Barber. Salas.
Barber.
Barber and Young.
Robert.
Barber, on a vote of 10-0, David Barber, congratulations, you're on the board. I gave Vice Chair Salas some paperwork for you. We can do the swearing in after the meeting. Yep.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, let's move on to the election of a board chair.
I nominate Morgan Lee.
No, you're fine.
I nominate Paul Robati.
Seeing no other nominations, we'll go into voting. Please state the name of your preferred candidate for chair. Aldana.
Morgan Lee.
Lee. Del Valle.
Lee.
Lee. Caldera.
Paul Robati.
Robati. Hulls. Robati. Kachuk. Lee. Kim, absent. Lee.
Lee.
Lee. Quadri.
Lee.
Lee. Robati.
Bobby.
Robati. Salas.
Lee.
Lee. Young.
Abstain.
Abstain. On a vote for 6 votes for Lee, 3 for Robati,
We need
and
a
1
Barber.
abstention. Oh, sorry,
And-
Barber. Yes, Barber.
Paul Robati.
Robati, okay. On a vote of 6 for Lee, 4 for Robati, 1 abstention. No chair has been elected. We do need a quorum. We need 7 votes for a candidate. Okay. We'll continue. Okay.
Any nominations for board secretary?
I nominate Milton. I nominate Milton.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, just say Milton DeValle if you would. Just Milton, okay. Just say Milton if you'd like to vote for Milton for board secretary. Aldana.
Milton.
Milton. DeValle.
Milton.
Milton. Barber.
Milton.
Milton. Caldera.
Milton.
Milton. Hulls. Milton. Kachuk. Milton. Kim, absent. Lee.
Milton.
Milton. Quadri.
Milton.
Milton. Robati.
Milton.
Milton. Salas.
Milton.
Milton. Young.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, on a vote of 10 for Milton, no against, and 1 abstention. Milton, congratulations, you're the secretary.
Approval of a written summary for the video recorded on Monday, October 21st, 2024. Are there any corrections? Then we pass it. Approved. Moving on to Governor Josh Green's representative. Nope.
Not here today.
Do we have the University of Hawaii at Manoa?
The governor's rep is here.
Oh, wait, never mind.
Yes.
There
Hello,
we go.
everybody. I apologize, your audio cut out. I didn't realize you were introducing me, but I am indeed here. I'm hoping you can hear me. This is Brooks Bear, and I am the governor's representative to this neighborhood board. I attended your last neighborhood board. Those of you who were there, you remember. I am a new employee at the State Department of Law Enforcement, been there less than 2 months now. And I replaced Matt Devanche as your representative or as the governor's representative to your neighborhood board. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity tonight. And it is already late. I don't have a lot to say. I wasn't given any specific questions last time to respond to. Certainly can do so if I'm given any questions tonight. There is, however, one thing I would like to mention to you, especially as we get closer to New Year's. You know, we're already into November. New Year's will be here before we know it. And when we have New Year's, we have lots of fireworks. And something I want to bring up is that the Department of Law Enforcement just before the 4th of July established a tip line where residents are encouraged to report any use of illegal aerial fireworks. And so you can go to our website, which is law.hawaii.gov. That's law.hawaii.gov. And right there on the homepage, you will be able to see several ways to report fireworks tips. And also in the last couple of weeks, we have added a gun tip line. So if you know anything about maybe firearms being improperly used, maybe an illegal gun, something you want to report to us, that you can do so completely anonymously. This is a tool you can use to report to us, to let us know about anything that you may know about regarding guns, fireworks, and you can go to our website again, law.hawaii.gov. There's a phone number there that you can call, and you can remain anonymous. If you want to give us your name, that's fine, but you can remain anonymous. There's also an online form right on that homepage that you can fill out, send it to us. That's anonymous. And there's an app that you can download called Safer Watch, and you can also use that app to give us information. Since we put the fireworks tip line online and began answering the phone calls, we've received 204 fireworks tips. And just in the last couple of weeks, we've already got 22 gun tips. So we would encourage you to please take advantage of that tool if you would like to maybe help keep your neighborhood safer and a little bit quieter. Other than that, I really don't have anything to report, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board? From the public? Thank you for your time, sir.
Very happy to be here, and I'll see you next month.
Oh, wait, I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me,
I think
Vice
Daisy
Chair.
has her hand raised.
Yeah. Hi, Brooks. Good to see you again.
Daisy.
The question is, I understand some state roads on the shoulders that bicycle users use need some maintenance of cleaning, because I understand, I don't know if it was ever, but I understand there's debris on the road that makes it kind of unsafe for some of the bicyclists to maneuver around. And also, is the state also doing some or like the city is doing an awful bicycle plan? Is there something that the state's doing for their plan around the state? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Daisy, I appreciate you asking that. I am an avid bike rider. I'm probably my happiest when I'm on my bicycle, and I know Eduardo Hernandez was there earlier tonight, and he is a tremendous advocate for bicycle safety, the Hawaii Bicycling League. I cannot answer anything tonight specifically for DOT, the Hawaii Department of Transportation, but I'm jotting down your question, and I will let them know that you've asked. Is the state, which would be the Department of Transportation, doing anything specifically for bicycle safety. I can tell you that I try, highways that's not a place I'm riding, along the side of our major highways, certainly not a freeway, but even the highways can get a little bit hairy. So I try to stick to the surface streets as much as I possibly can. But I'm glad you gave me something to ask someone about, and I will report back to you next month.
Thank you.
Question.
Go.
It's either to Brooks or the chair. It was on the agenda at Mōʻiliʻili at 820 Eisenberg. Is that a typo or? Brooks, do you know anything about the Mōʻiliʻili at 820 Eisenberg Street?
Yeah, hi, Senator. Good to hear from you. I appreciate it. We're talking about the old Bolodrome, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't have anything, but I can ask the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. That is their property, as we know. And so I can ask. I know a few months ago I did see an update. I'm an avid news watcher, as you can imagine. And so I either watched or read something. And I think they did have an update not long ago. But I will add that to the list. And I'm glad to see you tonight. And I'm sure I'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Brooks.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
You too. University of Hawaii at Manoa.
Hi, Vice Chair. Thank you very much for having me. I know time is short. Let me just give you an announcement. This Saturday at the UH Hawaii football game, it is Veterans Appreciation Night. We will have a flyover by let me get this correct, KC-135 airborne tanker. It is one of those that fills a jet as it's flying over. So it'll come around 3:45 in the afternoon. The game starts at 4. We just want to make sure that the community are aware we will have a flyover. It is not that noisy, but it's an awesome opportunity to see it. Because I know you guys are short on time, I will stop there and take any questions that you may have, Vice Chair.
Any questions from the board? Public?
Hi, Elmer. Laura Ruby, Alawai Mauka Community Association again. Listen, I had asked you before about the several things for a statistical analysis of the used areas at UH that would warrant any further building on the College of Ed campus. We have the Founders Gate, which combines the College of Ed and the Tropical Ag, is historically important. And I do not see at this particular time that there's a reason, and I even talked to David Lassner about this, for building something on the College of Ed ground or even moving College of Ed in. A negative for the College of Ed because the student teaching cohorts and their faculty members have to go in and out of campus, and this would necessarily cut out any desire for people to be teachers. But also we have a lot of closed restaurant areas that are not open in the evening that can be used by the students. How often do they use the physical fitness facility or whatever? There's a whole lot of facilities that are not being used on campus at the purpose. And the further thing is down at Pucks Alley area, there's a lot of empty retail shops because the rental is too high. What makes anybody think that there's students going to come to a College of Ed leisure time activity after hours or something like that? It's statistically you can prove. I do not think that kind of endeavor to cut the campus even smaller is something that's recommended. Thank you very much.
Okay, I noted. Just to let you know, let the whole committee know, the University of Hawaii is actually having a group go out and do a reach out session over the next year or so. So they'll reach out to the vice chair or the chair to kind of set that up. But that's down the road. I wanted to I'll take you in the back and I'll work directly with you. I did make a report in a written report at the last month's meeting, but I'll reach out to you again. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Elmer.
Hi, Allison Peterson. I'm not sure if you're the person that I speak to about this, but we're season ticket holders at the UH football games, and I'm very disturbed by the students booing the other teams. That, that just to me is like not aloha behavior, and I don't know if that's condoned by, the administration or that gets any kind of attention or not. But that's just a comment. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. No, noted. We did reach out to our student body. Yes, thank you.
Any more questions? Thanks, Elmer.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Les Sihara. I represent the 10th District in the Senate. This is my 39th year. I'm the longest serving legislator. When I started, I didn't have this area at all. I had Kamiki, Kapahulu, Maunalani Heights, and so forth. But in this area, I have about half. I have up to Willie Street, which is one street short of McCully, which is, and you folks go all the way further down, and I go from the canal all the way to the freeway. And we're in recess until January 15th. I am a majority policy leader, and I'm on the referral committee. I work on, we refer the bills to the various committees. And one of my major functions I spend my time is sort of liaison between the House and Senate to have as collaborative a relationship as it can be at the end of the session. On one of the things I work on in the session would be legislative political reforms. I have a long history of many of the reforms I was involved in, and Senator Fukunaga was involved in way back, and we are continuing to do that. We do need a little bit more help inside to make that happen, but we've done as much as we can. And the district issues would be a condo insurance, the bill that was one of the bills that really failed last year, which is really important. So we'll be doing that this year. And Senator Fukunaga probably knows more than me about that. She was also Kupuna Caucus. I was one of the founders of the Kupuna Caucus. So a lot of the senior issues are of concern, and there is a caucus that coordinates those bills. And let's see, I can't read my. Oh, and the third, it would be there are surveys that show that almost half the population are financially stressed. I mean, it's really not healthy. And it's just so that is to me a priority, and it's going to be a little bit tough going now, but we got to do the best we can. I have 2 staff full-time year-round. Okay, so I'm on like a mini nonprofit. They're filled. I have veterans been serving me for a long time. This year, the Senate full-time staff, session staff, starts December, the first time ever. And so we'll be able to be ready to go in January, because usually they start in January and you have to scramble. And by the time you learn, it's too fast a learning curve, because it's very intense and it's very precise. And so, so my staff, chief of staff is Melissa Von Voris, V-O-M-V, Boris, V-O-R-I-S, M Von Voris and all the emails at the Capitol is capital.hawaii.gov. And then I wanted to thank, was it Edward? For reminding, because reminding me, you remind all of us about civility. And I kind of botched that one. I actually shouldn't have asked her. When a contractor answers the governmental question, because basically she didn't mean it, but she excluded the most important thing, which is what do you do if you can't? Now, we all want to, but the reason I think that they're getting it backwards is because of that, which is good. And so I hope we can succeed in, and I feel that well, just my personal feeling is that, like Roger said, they want a bridge. But it doesn't have to be that tower, which is I'm opposed to. And most of the public is, there are a few people who will like it and it's a great thing. But there are other considerations. So I'm involved in this to make sure that we do everything with the lights on and get as much engagement as possible. And this neighborhood board, I think, is key. And actually, at the end, it's really this board and Waikiki board because you're both on both sides. And I can, on my opinion, but it's the fact of the matter is the bridge is for Waikiki, not for this area. All of the studies, all of it was Waikiki. They did not involve the associations on this side of the canal, the condos associations. They are community associations for the vertical communities. And like Marco Polo could be like a huge area, but it goes up. And so you had all these communities, but you never asked the association to participate, which you would do with a condo association because they're the vertical association. They were not involved. So I explained it to them, and so they are curing it. By involving it, they're curing it. So I want to give them compliments for really being as responsive as they are. So I just want to put that down.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
So you say that you need help.
Well,
In which way?
so I'll explain. My background is community. I have a long history of community. I was a community organizer. I was a community organizer before I came in. And throughout my career, I've been, like, for example, I'm going to start my 6th run at organizing the neighborhood board network. I've done it 5 times. In 1992 was the first one. I chaired an intergovernmental relations committee in the House, and we organized the neighborhood boards to push for some tax relief for the county because there's an esoteric issue. It's a public service company tax, so we wanted to let the city get the revenue because anyway. The last one was from this board, Tim Streitz. He was the chair of the board, and I worked with him and a number of neighborhood board members from around the island, and incredible, first time out, they passed the bill, which was to require mopeds to be accountable because they had only a small decal, you could never see it. So they required a license plate. Now you can see it loud, you can get down the license plate or you can record it. The second year, right off the bat, they got it and we passed it, and it was to increase the penalty for violating the noise. And it requires inspection on when you get your moped, you have to test out that's factory set, not, they add things to it to make it loud. Or I guess that's a thing. And so my project, and I've been informally calling it a civic values initiative. And what it is to bring, to have civic values be more of the culture in the legislature, in addition to the political culture, which is, in political culture, you have to do whatever it takes. You tell people, like, lock them in a room and don't let them out until they solve the problem. Well, and so they have to do what you have to do. So I don't fault that at all. Someone got to do it. Nowadays, with a divide, what's wanting to happen is that decisions for the community are made with civic values as much as possible. And in order to do that, to have civic values are like not on paper, you have to live it, right? And it's living, breathing, and it takes a community that's active, that you can feel it. And a statewide community, we're one of the few in the nation we have neighborhood boards. It's in the charter. I mean, it's a way to organize the community. In 1972, 1973, when the board started, I was with the university, and we helped form boards. And the idea there, and it was for decades, where the neighborhood boards was the venue, the community's venue for all the issues. And now politics or whatever. It's not. So so the next move is to elections next year, right? For neighborhood boards is to have as many boards have a majority that want to treat their board as a community venue. Invite all the associations, all the issues that come up, bring it here. And plus many of them are videotaped already. So you can include everybody and so that people feel included in the discussion because they find out after the fact and they get mad. So the idea is to engage people early up front. And it's through the boards and where it connects to legislators because you don't move, your map has been the same for 30 years or so, or more. And legislators come and go. So my proposal is that the neighborhood boards make a request to have an ongoing relationship with legislators. So that when usually we share where we are at the beginning and then at the end, sometimes you don't want to come back. Depends what happens, right? But you want to have everybody come back. So that means we have to be civil. If we disagree with you, and civilly, but whatever. But it's incivility that people didn't want to come in here. So if you, I think, commit that you will agree to disagree with civility, then let's have an ongoing relationship. And I think then they will go for it because they're good people if you get to know them. So thank you.
Well, just something to take consideration because I just heard like 30 minutes ago that the federal government is giving about $1 billion to build a bridge. And you just said like to build the bridge.
Not $1 billion.
Not that much money. I think it was like 25 million.
Yeah, well, something like that, right? And you just said that the community is broken.
What do you mean broken?
Like monetarily. Like there is a lot of people that they need money, right? Am I right or wrong?
No. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. So there's Hawaii Community Foundation is on a survey. It's called Alice survey, right? And they survey and what it is they're half the population, 48% less survey.
Okay.
They're one accident away, a car accident, loss of job, a medical procedure, and you're stuck. You don't have, people don't, they have, so that's where we need to provide relief. And I think this presidential election showed it actually, unfortunately, but we need to address that.
Any questions from the public? Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. Senator.
It's a kind of a long evening, so I'm just going to very briefly note that I sent my report to the neighborhood board members yesterday. If you have questions on some of the condo legislation, I'm happy to answer them, but I did want to kind of have you have a chance to meet with your new representative from your area, since there's been a lot of discussion about some of the impacts of various community projects. So I'm going to stop there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions from the public? I appreciate you keeping it short.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for coming. District 12? Mr. Olds, how are you doing, sir?
Hey. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ikaika Olds. I'm the representative-elect for District 23.
Woo!
I'm the representative. Officially. I haven't been sworn in, so somebody in the House today told me I'm still an elect and just rolling with it. I don't have anything to offer outside of it looks like I will be the vice chair of the Human Services Committee, and it looks like the other committee I'm going to be on is Education. So as Senator Yahara had mentioned, definitely use this as a conduit. You have your ears to the ground in the community, And as you guys hear things amongst your own little bubbles within your circles, definitely reach out to us to share. We're looking for some good legislation. So I'll take any questions or comments.
What's the first thing or the one thing that you're most excited for, or you're looking forward to the most, legislatively?
Because I'm so new to this process, definitely trying to learn. I'm very grateful to Councilman-elect Nishimoto. He's going to be giving me a lot to learn. You know, he was in the seat for a long time, and it's really hard and really big shoes to fill. So I'm going to try to learn as much as I can from the other legislators, from our senators that have so much wisdom. And you know, I'm an open book right now. So thank you for that hard question.
Any other questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none online. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have District 24 here?
Doesn't look like he's online. Oh, wait, he is.
Representative Tam?
The internet's pretty slow. Thank you so much for the honor of re-election as your state representative. I'm going to keep my report short. I think I sent it out to everyone. If it's not there, I will make sure that it goes out again. The only thing I can report is that Alawai Elementary School is now part of the Ready Keiki program, so they do now offer preschool services. And if anyone's interested in that, they can contact my office. Other than that, I can open to any questions.
Any questions from the board? Public? Seeing none online, thank you for sticking around, Tam. Representative Tam.
Thank you.
Lastly, we have community concerns from residents. Any announcements? Any concerns? Laura Ruby?
Laura Ruby, Alawai Mauka Community Association. Just one definition. That is an EIS, and is an environmental impact statement. It is about the human environment that includes cultural, social, economic, physical, material culture, historical, all of the cultures that all combine in what's called a large site. It's not something that's siloed or small. It has to do with the whole large area. And that's why it's so very necessary in any project that takes place, but especially in our neighborhood for that proposed bridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Drew Erickson, community member. Quick question in Waikiki. I know that's a little bit out of our district, but I know you represent it. Between the Halekulani and the Outrigger Reef, there's a walkway to the ocean. At the end of that walkway where the ocean starts, it's really falling apart. I think at times they've tried to block it off, but has there been any move to try to address that area, since it's used by a lot of people in the community, surfers and visitors to the island?
Mind you. Noted. Board announcements. The next regular meeting and future agenda items were scheduled to meet on Thursday, December 5th, 2024 at 6:30 at the McCully District Park, classroom number 1. The meetings can be viewed on channel 49 at 9 p.m. on the third Friday of the month and the second and fourth Sunday of the month at 3 p.m. And the meeting is adjourned at 9:18.